Bill, man, Hey, Bill, I love you, man. I love you. Oh, man. By the way, I did not skip right to great-grandkids. I went to grandkids first, just to let you know. Kids are great, though. Greetings, Rotarians of 6940. It is a pleasure for me to be here. Jan, thank you for inviting Cindy and I back again. We seem as though this is our second district, and this is the first time that we've flown on a plane to come to a conference, so it does feel like normal to me. This feels great to be back here. I'd like to talk to you about something today that I feel very strongly about, and it's something I've probably spoken to many of our clubs about over the last 14 months via Zoom, and it's hand wash. Now, before I begin this, I want to talk to you first about the Rotary Foundation. Now, I will admit to you that hand wash is not a program of the Rotary Foundation. Yet. Wait, right? Yet. But you really can't talk about hand wash without talking a little bit about the Rotary Foundation. The Rotary Foundation is not the same organization that it was when it began in 1917. I'll tell you it's drastically different than it was in maybe 2017, just 4 years ago. There has been a huge philosophical shift in the way in which the Rotary Foundation operates. The difference can be probably boiled down to a single word, and that word is impact. Rotary has shifted its mindset away from just doing projects. It's shifted its mindset to make transformational changes, to make huge impact in communities, areas, and in one circumstance, in hand wash, in an entire country. Now let me give you an example of this shift in mindset. And let me use, as an example, a simple water pump, like you see there. Now, in the older days, a project at the Rotary Foundation might have as a single purpose of just drilling a borehole, attaching a hand pump, and providing water. Or maybe it was 4 wells, maybe it's 10 wells or 50 wells, but that would be the project and its sole purpose. But you got to move past that. You have to say why. Why drill the well? Well, so that 450 people in a remote village in Haiti can have access to clean potable water within 30-minute walk or 500 meters. But what does that mean to you? What does it mean? Well, it means that in Haiti, it can dramatically reduce death rate because 50% of the people who die in Haiti die because of waterborne illnesses. Now we're starting to see how that's shifting the philosophy a little bit. Let's go even further than that. It also significantly reduces poverty. It increases empowerment of women because they're not walking every day for hours upon hours to get potable water. It reduces air pollution and protects trees because now they're not cutting down the trees to boil water to get fresh water. And they eat better because now their chickens lay more eggs and their family goat gets stronger and stronger. And what I think is the most powerful is the effect on young girls and their ability now to get an education because they're not walking to get water. And besides that, it's about their physical safety. Now, physical safety, think about this. I sat with a woman in Haiti my last trip there, and she was a health worker, and we were sitting in front of a pump like this, and we were bantering back and forth about what it means, like what this water means. And she says, well, think about this, John. Every morning, young girls walk the same path at the same time alone for hours. And they become prey to male predators. In communities where we provide a well, in that home, in that community, at the vision and the viewing of the family, the incidence of rape drops in Haiti dramatically. And finally, it's a sense of community. A well brings people together. So you can see how this has changed. It's changed from just simply providing water to people in Haiti to, in fact, changing the way they view life in their culture. For us, for me as a Rotary Foundation donor, this kind of impact offers enduring value and a really phenomenal return on investment on both my money, but on the volunteer time of the Rotarians. You know, we've been a great foundation, but I'm telling you, we are now, and we are positioned to be the greatest humanitarian organization that this world has ever seen. And it's because of impact, my friends. Thank you. So a program that's supported by the Rotary Foundation and has this same concept of impact is hand wash. Now, in a nutshell, what is hand wash? Hand wash is a $2.3 billion program spanning over multi-decades to assure that every household in the country of Haiti has access to potable water. Now, before I talk about hand wash, I gotta pivot a minute. Talking to Jan last night, COVID has had some really hard problems, right? We've had hard issues with meeting and all that kind of things, but it's also done some really interesting things in giving us access. I was able to speak to about 350 Rotary clubs and districts during the COVID shutdown. So it's a good thing, but Cindy says that's a really bad thing, because I was very accessible, sometimes doing 4 presentations a day. So I'd give mostly the presentation on hand wash, and people would ask me questions at the end, and there was one question everyone asked, and so I'm getting it out of your mind right now because I don't want it all cluttered while I'm speaking to you, about why Haiti? Why am I doing this? Why do I spend, Jan and Wade, about 30 or 40 hours a week in going and working in Haiti, and why I've dedicated the next 3 decades to this? I started traveling to Haiti when I was an RRFC, Regional Rotary Foundation Coordinator, like our friend Roger. And I began by doing it simply as a seminar trainer. I'd go down to Haiti and I'd teach the Rotarians in Haiti about writing grants, or I'd come down, Wade, with a stack of grants that people around the world couldn't get signed from the Haitian Rotarians, if you've done that before, and go to their clubs and have them sign it. And as I spent some time in Haiti, I started to see the projects and get involved with that. Then it was coming on as RI director. And so in 2009, I decided to take a group of district governor-elects down to Haiti. And I did so because I wanted them to see what a place like Haiti looked like. I wanted them to have an opportunity to come back to their districts and their clubs and talk about a different place. And plus, I want them to see me differently than the guy who stands up here at the lectern speaking, but who I really am. And that person is the guy who likes to do service. So as we do, and we always do when you travel to a place like Haiti, it was December 12th, 2009, we brought down backpacks, and so we gave them out to about 450 children in the school. And while we were there, we also painted the school, because that's what you do. We partnered with the local Rotaract Club and did a pretty pathetic job at painting the school. And then we went to City of Soleil, talking to Carrie Ann last night about her trips to Kenya and what she's seen. I'm not so certain you've ever seen a place like City of Soleil. It's probably the worst slum in the world. We were accompanied by armed guards, and my crew of DGEs didn't know we had armed guards, but every time we slowed down through City of Soleil, they jumped out of their Jeep behind us and with their guns to protect us, because it wasn't safe going through the community. We went to a government home for the elderly. 60 women crammed into This little building, it was built with this, you can see like little 6-inch slabs of concrete put together, and no windows. If there's windows, there are openings, but no screens. The doors, you couldn't protect yourself from the outside. No electricity. We handed out toiletries to them. And we talked to them for hours upon hours, and we smiled at them, held their hands, said things like "Bonne bienvenue," which is "God bless you." Just telling them that we cared about them. As I mentioned, that was December 12th of 2009. January 12th of 2010, a 7.0 earthquake hit Haiti. 1.2 million people homeless, 316,000 people died. It was 4:57 in the afternoon, so the school, though it fell apart, there were no children there because they had been released from school, so not a child had passed. But among those 316,000 people, 60 women in a home for the elderly, a little house of cards, collapsed. So this has become personal to me. It's really become personal. When I see what has happened in Haiti, I see the resilience of the Haitian people. So the answer is why? Why do I do this? Well, one, because of that. Plus, I made a commitment to my wife. I told her that when I retired, we'd spend our time half in Naples and half in a warm Caribbean country. It's not a lie if you don't tell the whole truth, right? I mean, but Cindy has been with me to Haiti a number of times, and though she doesn't go always, embraces it as well. So let's talk about hand wash. Haiti. Half of Haiti's water and sanitation infrastructure is broken. It just doesn't work. People have come to Haiti for decades and put in pumps and laid pipes, and now they just don't work. The facilities aren't well managed. They aren't inspected, and the local communities don't buy into the water system and don't put away enough money to sustain it. Haiti's government has also been unable to devote the financial resources needed to build the capacity and to take on their role as a regulator in the sector. So that's where hand wash comes in. Our role is to provide a vision to the whole country. Our role is to provide a vision. We become an umbrella that will bring together the funds and the partnerships needed to make a difference in the country, all along collaborating with the local government, understanding that we cannot do this as just Rotary. For this to sustain forever and ever and ever, we must get the Haitian government on board. And we also mobilize the local communities through our Rotary clubs. So how do we do it? A couple of weeks ago, USAID met with us. We're at the very, very almost place, edge of receiving a $2 million grant from USAID. And Rotary will match the $2 million, so it'll be hand wash will get $4 million. Pretty cool. But USAID said and asked the question, why are your wells successful when all the other wells aren't? What is it about you guys that's making this work? And we talked about to them civil society engagement. What's civil society engagement? It's when local residents within a community come together to develop a vision for their community and make it happen. Tell me who the greatest civil society engagement organization is in the world. Rotary. We got 22 Rotary clubs in Haiti and 14 Rotaract clubs. They come together with their local citizens and make it happen, make them embrace the cultural change of sustainability and developing long-term projects. So, hand wash. It begins with our systemic, technical-driven approach to gathering current data, and I'm reading this, through community assessments, creating local, socially driven solutions that result in a community action plan. Let me tell you, that's kind of goofy words. Let me tell you what this means. We go into a community. It might be a local Rotarian, or it might be a Rotaract, or it might be one of our trusted partners from a non-government organization, an NGO. They go into the community armed with nothing more than a cell phone. They walk up to a water source. It could be a hand pump, it could be a cistern, it could be a fountain or a kiosk, or it might be a stream along the side of the road. They walk up to it, they go on to M-Water, and they push a button. Through GPS tracking, satellite imagery, it records their exact coordinates of where they're standing. They then test to see if the pump works. If the pump works, they hit a green button, it says it's functional. They then get a test kit and test out to see if it's E. coli poisoned. If it's good, they hit green. If it's bad, it's red. So all those green, red, and yellow dots represent water sources within a community. Now we know where the water sources in that community are. We then get Google Maps. We lay the Google Maps on top of it. And all those little black dots you see, those are dwellings. We know that there are 5.5 people per average in a home. Now we can see within that community the baseline, what water and sanitation access looks like. So far, we've done this for 50% of the country of Haiti. 50% of the country of Haiti. To go even further than that, we have just signed a MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding, with UNICEF and the government of Haiti. We are teaching the government of Haiti to do the rest. See, we're bringing them on board. So our technology that we use, that we've developed, Haiti Outreach has developed, we're now having them do it and saying, this is no longer going to be us doing it, we'll teach you how to do it. And so they will then have a baseline. That baseline is valuable because as we go further and further, we know where we started. We know in a year from now, in 5 years, and 10 years from now, where we're going to be. Let me talk a little bit. That's Robert Leger. He is one of our steering club members. He's a past district governor from Lacaille. Let me talk a little bit about the way we think we do things differently. I'll talk about a global grant for water wells again. We know that when we do a global grant, that we are responsible to our donors, the Rotary Foundation donors, to be as efficient as possible, right? You want to know your money is spent right. So let's say we're doing a water project. The first thing we need to do is a hydrogeological survey and an engineering survey. So what most people do is they say, listen, we got to do things cheap, so we'll get a Rotarian from the United States who's an engineer. We'll pay them to go down to Haiti, pay their flights, and have them do those studies. That's the way most projects have been done. Well, there's a problem with that. While we're doing that, we have engineering students who are graduating from colleges and universities around the world who have no job in Haiti. Because when they go back to do their engineering work, they're competing against free services. So what we're doing is something different. And I'm looking at Dan Solgar because Dan Solgar is the guy doing this. We are outside of the global grant process. We're doing another grant, a $300,000 grant to collaborate with Engineers Without Borders and an organization called Northwater who will train engineers. We'll do an 18-month mentorship program and teach the engineers in Haiti how to do this. We'll do this cycle after cycle after cycle until we no longer have to send an engineer from the United States, but the talent will stay in Haiti and they will serve as their own resource to the rest of the country. Simple philosophies. And that's not all we're doing. We have also incorporated a pay for service philosophy into the systems that we build, so that we can move away from the approach of simply charity and relief and move to an idea of development and sustainability. So I'll repeat to you, the water we provide to the citizens of Haiti, we're not giving it to them. We're making them pay for it. Because we understand that is at the basis of the core values of who we are. That for us to have Haiti stand up for its own, for it to have its community get long-term management, we must give them those opportunities. Now, people will tell me, well, John, that's not Christian, or you can't do that. I'll tell you, once we build the infrastructure, once we put in the $2.3 billion to do this, we can provide thoughtfully managed water for $45 a year. $45 a year will serve a community of 250 to 300 people. Brought down, that's 70 cents a month for family. You can buy a Coca-Cola in Haiti for 70 cents. So a family can buy a Coca-Cola or get water in their community. Now, if we do the more detailed infrastructure in an urban development and pipe the water into their home, it's about 10 times that amount. It's about $7 per month. This approach is being tested and implemented now in the 7 pilot communes that we're operating, one of which is Pignon, which we're going to talk about in a minute. And once we figure this out, once we spend about $2 to $2.5 million per each of those 7 communes, probably take us 3 to 5 years to do that. We then have proof of concept. Then we can go to the world and say, here's what we've done in these 7 communes, and we want to do it in the other 137 communes. Are you on board? My job at the hand wash, my job is fund development. I have the very easy role of raising the $2.3 billion. People don't take my phone calls much these days. But I'm telling you, after we do 7 communes, people will be coming to us to give us money. So let me talk a little bit about global grants. Pignon. Pignon is one of the more developed communes within the country of Haiti. What our project will do of 6940 is basically going to work on a water system that was built in 1985, rebuilt in 2010 after the earthquake. It serves right now about 180 families. That means about 900 people. And it has some issues. We're going to fix those issues, then expand it to probably about 5,000 people. Now, I'm going to talk more, and Wade and I are going to talk more about this global grant in the breakout. That's a plea to have you come. So I'm not going to go further, but I do want to talk about the significance of your district. Now, Jan, you were talking about last night, I think, or yesterday, about when you came on board here. And I'm trying to remember when it was. It may have been Toronto, as you being, was it your DGN in Toronto? Okay. So you heard a guy named Barry Rassin, pretty cool dude, talk about hand wash. Jan came up to me and talked about saying, well, I want to be involved. And I quite honestly, at that point in time, said, well, a lot of people are saying, yeah, I want to do this, I want to do this. I had no idea who this Jan chick was. 6940 is the poster child for what you do for hand wash. Poster child. Ted Kircher, who's your chair of hand wash, not only is helping us with hand wash on the Pignon project, but he also helped us with the services of hiring our executive director. He did all the interviewing, he helped us with the search, he did all the negotiation. Our executive director is a guy named Ryan Rowe, who lives in Montreal. So we had to negotiate with the French government how we actually got to pay him. And a cool side story about Ryan Rowe, I met him in 2010 in UNC Duke when he was serving as a global peace scholar for us. And you hear about that program, right? And you don't know, these global peace scholars just sort of get money and go away in academia someplace crazy. But now yet we've got this guy back, and he's now running our organization saying he's waited his whole life for this. We also have Dave, our foundation chair, who has helped support us through giving some donor district designated funds and prompting the clubs. Christine Isham. You know Christine? She's a freak. She's a freak is what she is. I've never seen someone who has such an ability to understand global grants, to get them down to, I mean, Wade does this, not done for a living, but he oversees all the, if you don't know who Wade is, oversees all the global grants over the world. That's probably an overstatement, but it's basically what he does. Is she a freak, basically? Yeah. I love this lady. Freak in the best of the ways, by the way. How quickly you guys take this from the concept to right now where we're ready to submit is awesome. Dan, I mentioned Dan, who is involved in the engineering aspect as well as others. Larry, I love you for taking this thing on. And then Jan, thank you. We are a day or two away from locking the grant and submitting it to the Rotary Foundation and actually getting done what others thought we couldn't do. You guys are simply awesome here, 6940. Thank you for being on board. I'll talk to you quickly about another grant that's going on in the commune of Ferrier. Ferrier is in the northwest corner of Haiti, very close to the Dominican Republic. It is a community, and this little community of Artude where we're working has about 1,000 people. But because of saltwater intrusion, there is no fresh water for the 1,000 people. There's no fresh water, period. So what happens, to get fresh water, they truck water in. And so for 50 cents, you can buy a 5-gallon bucket of water to bathe in. Or $1, you can buy a 5-gallon bucket to drink from. Now bear in mind, we're providing water for 70 cents a month to a family, and in Ferrier, they're buying a 5-gallon bucket for $1. But most people don't do that because it's too expensive. What most people do in the town of Ferrier is they sneak over the border in Dominican Republic and they steal water out of cow troughs. I got a problem with that. I got a problem with that now. In this day and age that we have to have people drinking from cow troughs. So we're going to spend the money. We are partnering with an organization called Give Power, who is actually funded by the Tesla Corporation. And we've met with them 3 times. The first time we met with them, Give Power said, well, yeah, we'll be happy to partner with you, and we'll provide to you sell you the solar energy panels and all that kind of stuff. And then the second time they heard about us a little bit more, they said, well, we'll give it to you at discounted price as a wholesale price. Last week we met them again. They said, we're just going to give you all of it and also give you money to fund your project. We're getting there. We're getting there. Last trip we made was January of 2020. The woman here, her name is Erica Gwynn. Erica Gwynn is with the Rotary Foundation. She's responsible for all water projects in the nation, in the world for Rotary. And she also is, half of her time is spent with the USAID. She came down to Haiti saying, you can't do this. You'll never pull this off. It's just too big. It's too big. You can't do it. We spent some time with her in Haiti, and now she's on our board of directors. She spent 6 months teaching us a strategic plan for our organization, and every Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock her time, she spends her hour with us. She is now our greatest supporter, saying, yeah, you're going to do this. Absolutely. Now, while we were there in Haiti the last trip, we also met with a lot of donor organizations, a lot of folks who are giving lots of money. And we met with the World Bank. And it was very interesting, the World Bank, because the guy there said, I've never heard of Rotary. I don't know who you are. I mean, World Bank are on on global space knows who we are, but Haiti didn't know who we were. How long is your project going to go on? You see, they figured us to be one of those little small NGOs who comes into Haiti with a little bit of money, puts a well in, walks away, and leaves. We said, no, that's not who we are. You see, Rotary doesn't do projects. Rotary does programs. And our program we done when every child, man, and woman in the country of Haiti has access to water. That's when we're done. In fact, Rotary has a history of doing that. Think about 35 years ago, some crazy Rotarians in the Philippines said, we want to immunize our children against polio. And here we are 35 years later saying, we're going to do this and get it done. So we left the office of the World Bank only to be called back one more time about 5 hours before we left on the airplane. And the Executive General of the World Bank gave us a grant for $2.5 million. $2.5 million. Now, I'm raising $2.3 billion, so it's not a big deal, but $2.5 million, quite honestly, that's like pocket change. But what it meant to us was that he figured it out. He figured out who Rotary is. That Rotary stands for transparency, for integrity, for sustainability, and for impact. This is an audacious goal, I'm telling you. You've bought into this. And I want to say thank you to your 40 or so clubs. How many clubs raised money? 40%. I want to say thank you for you buying into this. Audacious goal. It's not going to be easy. I don't think it's going to be done in my lifetime, quite honestly. But I'm telling you that no one in the world could pull this off but Rotary. And Rotary is going to do this. And once we do this, this will serve as a blueprint for every developing nation around the world to say, we can do it too. So, on behalf of Handwash, on behalf of our chairman, Barry Rassin, on behalf of really 11 million people in Haiti whose lives are being changed, whose lives are being transformed, Bill, thank you. May God bless you and may God bless Rotary. Thank you.